Hello, I'm Kenza Gray, co-owner and curator of Grey Area Gallery, and welcome to our latest exhibition, Generation Grey. Generation Grey brings together for the first time in one exhibition our 6 represented artists: Harriet Atkinson, Flood-Molyneux, Daniel Franklin, Dan Bloodworth, Mark Mann, and myself, Kenza Gray. These are the artists who we are championing and whose voices are at the heart of our programme here at the gallery. When curating Generation Grey, it was a slightly different approach to our usual exhibitions, as although there is this tie for all of our artists, that there are represented artists, and as I say, they have this shared voice of the gallery, each of them have very unique practices. They're looking at different subject matter, they're working in different mediums. Where we wanted to go with this exhibition was to give each of our artists a distinctive section in the gallery, and as you go round the exhibition, you'll see it does flow into each other through their shared use of a colour palette or subject matters. As you enter this exhibition, I had a clear vision of the 2 flanking walls featuring Flood-Molyneux's paintings and Harriet Atkinson's paintings on paper. And I knew that we needed a central piece to tie all of those together and make a sort of space in the middle, a bit of white space to allow focus to spread around. My large shop vase fitted quite well, and I knew that I wanted Harriet's paintings here to really bring you into the space. Their small scale means that you have to come in and you have to get up close to them. So Harriet Atkinson first exhibited in the gallery in our open call last year, and we loved her work so much that we continued to work with her after that exhibition. And in March this year, we announced our representation with a special launch of her series Best in Show. We really wanted in this exhibition to highlight the breadth of her body of work. So Harriet is a recent graduate of the Norwich University of the Arts. Her artworks mostly feature animals and themes from the natural world, whilst exploring her influence from duality, anger, tenderness, personal experiences of navigating the world as a young adult. In her work, we see a really raw and gritty voice that is unapologetically depicting the world as she sees it. Her work is bold and standout, and the themes she explores really align with the ethos of the gallery. When getting feedback throughout the show, many people have highlighted this series as a personal favourite. There is a sense of, I guess, a duality, but it's more a varying of emotions. You know, we have an anger, we have almost sadness, or in this last piece, there is a sense of happiness, a slight smile appearing through the very stern face that Harriet portrays of herself. It's been a really interesting series to have a discussion with people about how art can really make you confront yourself, even though we're looking at Harriet. You know, these are very personal, they're her emotions and her features. People are able to put those onto themselves and really relate to the work. People have also highlighted the scale of them. They really draw you in. It's a really effective thing to be able to paint on a small scale and yet command the room. As you continue around the exhibition, we wanted to showcase the flip side of Harriet's work, which is this bold use of colour and the drawing on this kind of cute, unsettling aspect of her work. So in the 2 pieces behind me, we see these kind of realistic portrayals of animals. Yet, as I say, there is an unsettling nature to them. I think there is this contrast in the cute manner of the paintings with an idea that something is lurking beneath the surface. The way in which Harriet applies the oil paint is really beautifully done. We see her brushstrokes very vividly, but it's almost in a transparent way, very lucidly used. And this piece in particular, being painted on the linen, I think you see the texture of the canvas coming through. Makes for a really beautiful painting that not only has that subject matter that evokes a lot more thought to it, but also has been drawing people in for its really shiny and beautiful quality. This aspect is something that has been highlighted multiple times in the exhibition. For such an emerging artist, her pieces are strong. She has her unique voice, and they are painted to an extremely high quality. We really believe she is one to watch, and she is only just at the beginning of her career, which for sure will be a really interesting one to keep an eye on. Next to Harriet, we featured the paintings of Daniel Franklin. Now, Daniel has been working with the gallery since our 2nd exhibition. Daniel is primarily a portrait painter, with his paintings focusing on this larger, unspoken narrative, where we see figures playing out a story that we're getting snippets into. So his paintings have this continuous feel to them. We have clients who continuously like to collect his works, for that narrative that I've mentioned. They feel unified as if it's one large body of work, but we see these different aspects of Daniel's life playing out. So Daniel Franklin is also a graduate of the Norwich University of Art, where he studied moving image. And I think that we see this translated into his paintings. They do almost feel like snapshots into a film where he considers the visual language, I think, quite differently to an artist who studied fine art, for example. He is one of the artists who has had the most recent show in the gallery. So he closed his duo show Sublime Anecdotes in April, for which he created a large body of work for, which has now almostly gone. So these are two brand new pieces. In the piece behind me, we can see the use of the raw canvas behind the figure and the use of this muted colour palette we often see of the peaches in the flesh and the vivid greens that he pulls in to contrast that. We do see this contrast between a soft and tender expression in the face and the rather taunt and chiseled body that he depicts. We are really drawn into his use of the brushes and the strokes to create the flesh of the body that I've mentioned contrasts with the much more subtle use of the brush to create the tenderness of the face. Something that people have really been drawn to is the scale. It is pretty much a life-size body, so you are confronted with this person laying in front of you, exposed in a way, and in a manner to invite you into the scene, allowing us to feel part of the room that Daniel has painted. Contrasting the large work behind me, we wanted to put the smaller piece, Blue Boy, next to it. All of the aspects that I've mentioned do feature in this work. However, in a contrast to that, he doesn't include the raw canvas background. The face is a lot more blurred. And there is a sense in this scene that we don't know who this figure is or what is occurring. The beautiful use of the blue background really contrasts the flesh. The way that he's applied it highlights the figure, and he is crammed into the center of the painting, so it really draws you in. These two paintings showcase how Daniel uses the body, and he paints it in a very distinctive way, which across his body of work is unified. There is a signature style to the way in which he applies the paint to create this vulnerable flesh. Daniel has, as I say, been working with the gallery for nearly 2 years now, and it's been a pleasure to see his body of work expanding and his collector base continuously growing for his distinctive voice. His pieces are really thought-provoking in the way that they ask us to imagine not only what is in the scene, but what is happening outside of the scenes. Along the back wall and continuing to the side, we featured the paintings of Dan Bloodworth, who was a Norfolk-born painter who spent many years in London and has just moved to Liverpool. He's worked with us since 2024, having featured in the duo show Outlaw in 2025. Dan's works are exciting, bold, dynamic and playful, and he has this very unique style which combines cowboy Western culture with modern-day life and the way in which he sees the world. So Dan is a self-taught painter, and the way in which he paints, he continuously lives with a canvas, painting on it for sometimes months on end, creating different layers of the surface and scenes below. So instead of erasing a mistake, he will just paint over it. Or if he wants to create this textural quality of scenes lurking beneath the top layer of paint, we get remnants of eyes or horses' hooves or words that were painted on the canvas before that you can just slowly pick up through the current surface of the painting. This quality really makes his work stand out. In his subject matters, Dan is drawing on his personal memories as a child, visiting his family's ranch in America, where he would live that lifestyle and see those people, and they're really vibrant memories to him that he continuously draws on. But also there's a sense of his life in England, which peeks through into the pieces. Behind me you can see the paintings Thin Ice Roses and River Wandle. When talking to people in the exhibition about these pieces, something they really highlighted was the use of not only his iconic dynamic and fun qualities, along with this textural surface quality that we've already discussed, but his use of details, different coloured boots, or bolo ties, the tote bag with the fish, or the little flies on his hat. In this way, we can see in Dan's work that he not only creates these big, bold paintings, but he works on them for a long time, creating those little details that really make the painting. In Roses, something that has been highlighted is the small quality of the painting. In a way, it draws you in. Something that people have loved in this piece is the way in which Dan has highlighted it by painting on the outer sides of the canvas. This way it frames it. Adding that frame really draws you into the subject matter in the middle, which is this really sort of stoic cowboy carrying his roses, contrasting this rather masculine figure of a cowboy with him clearly carrying a bunch of flowers. It's a really tender and beautiful piece. Lastly, in River Wandle, this is where we really see that textural quality coming through. So there is clearly a full other scene beneath the surface, and we're left with this beautiful pink hue, which has been painted right across it. And we see this use of the background in the scene in the front. So in the way that the figure's arm is made up, or the bridle of the horse, and also including this river along the bottom. Dan Bloodworth has been one of the defining voices in the gallery for a long time now, but we haven't had a large body of his work on display since Outlaw, so it's been really great to get a lot of his pieces in here and showcase the body of work that he's currently creating, and the feedback's been amazing. So in the central front and back of the gallery space, we've featured works by myself. I'm a ceramic artist based in Norfolk. I primarily work with what I've coined as destructive pottery. So I have a multitude of series, but primarily what I'm interested in is my shot series. So I shoot vessels and slabs with a shotgun to explore this idea of creation through destruction. I've always been really interested in ideologies of destructivism, and this is something that I've really liked to translate into ceramics. I enjoy this contrast between the fragility and precise nature of the medium of pottery and ceramics, whilst creating through a very brutal and violent method. Behind me, you can see my mini shot vases and a slab piece created by 6 tiles having been shot together. I wanted to highlight these pieces in the gallery as my mini shot vases allow me to be a lot more experimental with the shapes of the pieces, the glazes I use. How I create those is I line them up and I shoot above them to allow them to just pick up a few of the pellets. So each one, I try and create a different glaze on them so that along with the unique nature of the pattern making that is created through this method, they also have their own qualities on the surfaces of the glazes. In a certain piece such as number 8 here, I love the quality where we get the glaze, but it shows the impact of the wounded holes with this different brown, or where we get the drips of the glaze coming down on number 11 here. And I think that allowing myself the space to experiment in that way does create such unique and eye-catching pieces. Within my work, there is a randomness that I am really drawn to. So the particular use of a shotgun means that when I pull the trigger, in the cartridge, all of those pellets are released at once, and in that split second, the marks are made on the vessel in a way that I just cannot control. That's something that I'm really interested in, and something that I think is shown when you bring a lot of them together like this. At the front of the room as you enter, we featured shot vase number 7. This piece is an ongoing process, so I shot it on the Monday before we opened the exhibition, and we've been letting it dry out during the exhibition here. We included it as a sort of installation at the front, with the use of this grass and presenting it exactly as it has come straight from the field, so on the boards that I shoot it with, and the 2 cartridges either side. I wanted to display in this way to give an understanding of the process in which my pieces are created, and allowing them to see it in this mid-process. Displaying it in this state has been really great to engage with people and talk about the process of my work. It is also the largest piece I've ever made, actually hence why it took 2 cartridges to shoot it, and I think that it has this really impressive quality to it that has really sparked a lot of conversations with people. As you enter the exhibition, we've featured the paper works of Caitlin Flood-Molyneux. Caitlin is actually our most recent represented artist, although we've been working with Caitlin since the duo show of Outlaw that I've mentioned before in 2025, and their work has been recurrent throughout the gallery since then. So Caitlin is a Welsh artist based in South Wales. They have exhibited internationally, nationally with Christie's, Sotheby's, has been nominated in 2024 for the Forbes 30 Under 30, and this year awarded the KLAT Visual Welsh Artist of the Year, and even delivered a TED Talk in the Welsh Parliament. Caitlin's work draws inspiration from personal hardships and experiences, but translates them into a universal iconography, so the use of running dogs, bulls, Western iconography. They contrast the use of vibrant colours and pop iconography with this gritty undertone of the personal personal experience. In these paperworks, we really see the dynamic quality in which the pieces are created. We see the marks being made with the pastels or the pens in a very dynamic way. This gives the pieces a quality that makes you want to look at the actual mark making. Say the central piece behind me, we see the star in the middle really quickly being drawn out, and then we have the contrast of the painted vase, which gives a really stoic quality to the piece. By drawing them all together into the culmination of this sort of salon hang, it allows the audience to come into this space and really start looking at the different ways in which Caitlin uses the same iconographies. So we get a standing dog or a running dog or a barking dog, sort of contrasting in these ways, allowing us to see the breadth in which these subject matters are depicted. When speaking to Caitlin about the works, they mention how a lot of this comes from their childhood, watching spaghetti westerns growing up, or the dog racing that is prevalent in the neighborhoods around. Drawing on this personal quality makes the pieces really endearing. These are coming from personal experience, and yet it's something that we can all relate to. In these pieces, one of the standout works for us was Rebel. We used it as the poster image, as I think it has this really captivating quality. The use of the deep red, contrasted with using no colour for the dog, really allows the viewer to be drawn in and feel the emotion and energy in this piece. It really is a catching work, and we've had a lot of compliments on the poster that it caught people's attention in the street, and we get that from a lot of feedback about Caitlin's work in general, that it's really eye-catching. And there is this fun quality to it, but there is a serious nature, and we're able to put our own emotions into the works with their really vibrant quality that originally draws us in. It's been really great to announce the representation of Caitlin alongside this exhibition. They're a really great addition to the team, and we cannot wait to continue working with them and seeing their career continue to boom. In the centre of the room, we created this almost alcove that you could step into with Mark Mann's works in. So Mark has also been with the gallery since our second exhibition, and he's our longest standing represented artist. Last year, he had 2 solo shows, one with us in this gallery, Verdieu, which saw us turn the gallery almost into a garden, and also a solo show in the Museum of Classical Archaeology in Cambridge, which we curated. Mark is a Norfolk-based artist. He takes inspiration from queer histories, often overlooked and ugly realities of said histories, and also Greek mythology, along with his love of nature. In this exhibition, we wanted to create a space that you step into and are surrounded by Mark's works. In that way, you're able to get up close and see the glazes and the little hand-carved details that he has in his pieces. I wanted to highlight the Adonis torso, as I think it's a really central piece that has an amazing presence to it. It has a beautiful glaze, very iconic Mark in this deep use of green with the crackles through it. Really draws you in to look at the piece as a whole, but also then we've surrounded it by a few of his fragments and a Beware of the Sods tile, really creating an area where you get a sense of his different glaze qualities, but the really outstanding way in which he can create these beautiful works of art that feel like they've just been dug up from antiquity, but really put a contemporary spin on them. We've seen people over the year or so that Mark's been making them build up collections in the same way that we have here, finding different pieces that work together and creating a gathering of them. They originally came out of his realization that in ceramics, we often find happy accidents in the glaze not quite going how you anticipated or a piece getting chipped. And he saw the beauty in these and to keep them and celebrate these beautiful failures, as it were. The inclusion of his Beware of the Sods series really highlights the effective way that Mark juxtaposes humour with this serious undertone of the ugly realities of queer history. We really wanted to highlight the different glaze qualities that he uses across this series, and also the different ways in which he draws in other iconographies. We have the carnation flower peeping through, which in history we saw Oscar Wilde using a green carnation as a symbol of being a gay man. So we have these ties to queer histories, but also his love of nature, all brought into his really captivating ceramics. Having been with us since the start, it's been really great to showcase Mark's development as an artist and this new body of work. He has continued to be an ever-presence in the gallery, and we've been proud to have him on board since day one. We've now closed the doors on Generation Gray. I'd like to thank everyone who supported by coming along or viewing the preview catalogues. I hope that this has given you a bit of an insight into our represented artists and the amazing works that they're creating. As always, we're proud of them all and can't wait to keep seeing what they're producing. If anything has caught your eye, please reach out via Instagram or email. And until next time, thank you for watching. And Fletcher is excited to welcome you all into the next show next month.